I am thrilled to be joined right now by John Solomon and Amanda Head, host of Just the News, No Noise. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's an honor. We love our partnership with AMAC. We love AMAC. We love covering AMAC and all the impact you create every day.
Yes.
Well, back at you, because I love what you both do. You're just incredible, and there's so much that you talk about on your show. There is so much going on in America right now. Where do we start? We've got a wide open border. We've got our children that we're worried about being indoctrinated in school. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Amanda, in your opinion, what are some of the greatest threats that America is facing today?
Oh my gosh. Wait, how long?
How
What's
long
the
do we
timer on
have?
this? I'll start on the positive side and just say, we are here at CPAC. You look around and you see such a diversity in the crowd. My first CPAC was 7 years ago, and it was very different from what it is now. You have an audience, an activist group that's engaged. The grassroots people who come and attend CPAC has just surged in the last 7 years, and I'm sure that it surged 7 years ago from the previous 7. As far as the biggest threats, I'm in California, and I see what liberal policies have done to that state. My in-laws were spending time in Arizona as snowbirds because they're Canadian, so they were spending time in Arizona just trying to get away from 6 months of freezing temperatures. And they were driving into California yesterday, and they were talking about all of the natural beauty and how, the parts of California that they haven't ruined are still so beautiful. It's not for not trying. Obviously, they tried to do it all.
They've tried.
But, we are moving into this age where wokeism is becoming the norm for a certain faction of America, and we can't ever let it become the norm. I remember, you want to talk about the transgender movement. I remember the beginning of it, but I remember the genesis and I remember the synthesis. It started with, as far as like the whole gay movement in general, just act like we're people. Okay, of course, you're people, obviously. Okay, well, just don't stand in the way of what we want to do. Okay, yeah, sure, we're not standing in the way. Okay, well, let us marry in your churches. That's where we start having problems. And this is how so many of these things start to happen. It's incrementally, and it's almost imperceptible. But we get to this place where we wake up in America and now they have transgender drag shows for kids. And it's like, whoa, what happened? That's what happened. We let it happen little by little.
And our youth really have become desensitized because little by little by little, we are eroding the culture here in America.
That's what I'm saying. Don't ever let it be norm.
And that reminds me, we are in the midst of a culture war. And everywhere I look, it seems to me more and more that I'm seeing China infiltrating America in the culture war itself.
TikTok.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
TikTok as well. We ought to be really concerned. John, China, it's such a big, so many places to go with that. But what should our listeners really understand and need to know about this threat?
A little balloon episode, and it's a minor episode from a military episode, but from an American awakening, it was our Sputnik moment, this generation's Sputnik moment. Wait a second, China's floating balloons across our sky. What's that about? We had been told by our president, China's not the enemy, he's fine, they're not our competition. They are. When you track back all of the major things that we're worried about, the desensitizing of our youth, it's occurring on TikTok. Who's behind TikTok? China. A young kid picks up a pill off the ground, gets poisoned, drops to the ground unconscious in a few seconds from fentanyl. The precursors from that start in China. China is flowing that into the Mexican cartels because they want to kill our children. They want to destabilize our families. So much of the threats we face today emanate with China. A lot of the indoctrination that came into the schools have its roots in Marxist and Socialist and Communist China. China wants to unseat us any way they can, and hitting our children is one of many ways. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of the Pacific Admiral Fleet. Those are the words of the Central Intelligence Agency, the words of the FBI director this week. Yet there's a certain part of our society that keeps telling us, don't worry about China. Those who tell us that are often the people most trying to get rich on it. It's the companies that are making money in China. It's the political families that are making money in China.
Yeah.
We have to stop China's advance on our shores.
Well, and as far as the youth, if I could just cut in, on TikTok, if you ever look on TikTok, the Chinese platform of TikTok, it's students who are overachieving. The only content allowed on there is if they have achievements in academics or sports. In our country, it's garbage. And we have kids who are sucked into social media. We know that the the damage that social media does to kids is intentional. It's not a glitch in the system. It is absolutely intentional. They try to get kids hooked. It turns into anxiety and depression. And we had Senator Marsha Blackburn on the show a few weeks ago to talk about her what was the bill called as far as protect children online?
Yeah.
And that she
Wonderful,
teamed
yeah.
up with the Democrat from Connecticut on.
Yeah, Chris Murphy. Yeah.
Protecting kids online.
And that's
this,
normal. You would
Yep.
think, who doesn't want to protect
Exactly.
children? This
Common
is something,
sense.
it's common sense. So it blows my mind that we've got a president who isn't speaking out on this when he, and instead chooses to label parents as domestic terrorists.
And just this week, he laughed at a woman who lost her child to fentanyl poisoning. He laughed.
He did.
But I just met some women and fathers who lost their children. They were here. They brought tears to my eyes. We have to take, this is the largest chemical attack in American history, and yet we treat it as though it's just some minor drug problem. Those kids, again, we have to get serious about it.
So, speaking of getting serious, we have a new Congress, and we've got various committees that can do work.
Oh, yeah.
John, where should they be focused, and what can they actually get done? Whether it be addressing and disclosing exactly what Hunter Biden's business dealings were,
Right.
and there are many other things. AOC and her breaking the ethics rules. With there's a lot of things to focus on. But getting back to China, do you think that there's much work that the House Oversight Committee can do to uncover
I do.
any?
I think House
relationship?
Foreign Affairs and House Oversight are working very closely together. The first hearing really awakened people to understand, wait, China's been doing all that? We didn't know that. Look at Kevin McCarthy's been able to achieve. He got 80 Democrats to sign on to the China investigation. He's got many more Democrats to sign on to banning TikTok. Joe Biden, though he used TikTok in the last election campaign just a few months ago, now has to tell every federal employee, no more TikTok on your federal devices.
Yep.
They're scoring victories every day. They have to expose and educate, but that's not enough. They have to also create the solutions.
Yeah.
And I will say from the people we have had on the show as far as members of Congress, we had Chairman Comer on earlier today, and the one thing I consistently hear from them with respect to China as far as COVID, fentanyl, all of it is make China pay.
Make China pay. One more question. I'm from New York.
All right.
I'm a Long Islander. What do you make of the George Santos debacle and story? What's happening there?
We've seen it throughout our history. A politician who fudged their resume. Dick Blumenthal said he was in Vietnam. He wasn't. We've had this in the past. He seems to be an extreme case of it. He's going to have to face the music. The Ethics Committee will look at that. They're going to look at AOC, another New Yorker who has some problems, perhaps taking gifts we shouldn't take. This process has been as old as politics. People get the whistle blown on them. We'll see what the future is. Ultimately, I think the people of New York will decide whether they want him as their lawmaker in the future.
I like it. Just say it like it is.
Yeah.
I do have great hope for America's future. I'm excited about 2024. It's a wonderful atmosphere here at CPAC, and I thank you both so much for
Thank
stopping
you so
by
much
the
for
AMAC
having
Better
us.
for America booth.
Yeah.
Great
It's a
honor to be
joy.
with you.
Happy to be
We
here.
love what you
Thank you
do.
for the
Yes,
great
we
work
do.
that you do. God bless you both.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Same to you.